Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of D&D CR Exposed. On today's episode we are looking at the Quell from the Elemental Evils 5e conversion or something to that effect. It is on the GM bindery and you will find the link in the description below to get on top of that. But before we get into this monster, let's talk about the business and get that out of the way here. The business is just this. If you like what I'm doing here and you'd like to get this tool for yourself so you too can make perfectly balanced monsters for your 5th edition game, then look no further than my Ko-fi page where you can get this tool, this Google Excel sheet, or Google Sheet, whatever you want to call it, completely for free. And if you feel so inclined to, you can donate if you have the money and you'd like to donate to the cause, which is me, doing this kind of stuff weekly by chance, so you too can support the channel here, which is fantastic and super cool. Otherwise, you can also leave a comment on the video, which would help with the YouTube algorithm overlords to, recommend another monster, or you can use the Google form below to, access it completely anonymously. And then other than that, you can also join the YouTube channel where if you'd like to recommend monsters and like to get them bumped to the front of the line as well as get early access to all of my videos, you can join the channel for as little as $1 a month. So everything is kept as cheap as possible because I know these are rough times, and if you'd like to donate and you have the money to do so, you are more than welcome to, and I totally and fully appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So with all the business out of the way, let's get into looking at the Quell. Now, as I said before, the Quell is a monster from the Elemental Evils 5e book here, which is on the GM bindery, and it's a, let's see here, a CR3 undead, medium undead, lawful evil creature. So we'll go ahead and throw in the CR for our monster. We're expecting a 3, so we should have all that information balancing out to that. We'll see what happens, because this is a third-party item here. And then we will go ahead and start putting in the information working from the top down. So from here, we will start with 12 AC. Not 142. It's a medium creature, and it's going to have 10d8 hit points. From there, we're going to add in 1 strength. Wow, okay. Apparently this is a ghost, I believe, from the picture that was above it. 15 dexterity, 14 constitution, 12 intelligence, 13 wisdom, and 16 charisma. From there, we will now move on, although we will take a look here. Luckily, the hit points are lining up properly, so we have 65 hit points. And now we'll move on to the damage resistances and so forth here. We do have damage resistances, but we only have 2 immunities. So because we have 2 immunities, and we should have 3 to trigger the effect, I'm going to skip over the immunities and just look at resistances. Although, if things are a little out of whack, I will throw in the damage immunities. So let's go ahead and pop in resistances here, and we'll see that our monster here is getting 2 times the amount of hit points that it probably should have because of the fact that it can resist acid, cold, fire, lightning, thunder, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks that aren't silvered. So from here, we will skip over damage immunities, conditions don't matter, and everything else here is a moot point. So we can now move on to the monster traits here. We have God Hate. The Quell has advantage on saving throws against divine spells, which are spells cast by clerics, paladins, druids, rangers, celestials, and other sources the DM deems appropriate. Probably, what we're looking at, the divine soul sorcerer, whatever that subclass is called, probably comes from that. I think at one point there may have been some kind of a divine wizard even. Who knows? And I think there's even a divine subclass warlock, if I remember correctly. But in any event, there's a likelihood that this would come into play. Clerics are usually sought after. Paladins, druids, rangers. These are all, especially druids. I'd say druids and clerics are definitely going to be classes you're going to see a lot of. Paladins, probably just as much. And we can say that advantage on saving throws. This is something we could probably throw in at the end here if things aren't lining up. So this is an iffy spot here. I might say maybe +1 effective AC bonus for the God Hate ability. And we'll just throw that in right now. We'll go ahead and come down to the extra AC section. We'll click that on and add in 1, which will give us +1 effective AC bonus. From there, we're going to come back up here and incorporate incorporeal movement, which we don't need to worry about. Sense Divinity, which will just let us know if those creatures of that particular God Hate feature are there. And then we also have Sunlight Sensitivity. So everything here pretty much doesn't matter, except for maybe the God Hate, which again, like I said, may not necessarily come into play depending on your group or what have you. So moving along, we're going to go into the multi-attack section here of our actions. And the Quell uses its intercession if it's available, and then uses its life drain. And it looks like, if I didn't cut things off, no I didn't, we get one attack basically, and intercession if it works, if it's on. So first off, let's take a look at intercession. This is a recharge on 5 of 6, so technically if dice are rolling appropriately, we should only see this once out of every 3 rounds of combat, and then we could see it a second time on rounds 4, 5, or 6 if combat goes that long. And since this is an undead, likely combat will go until the Quell has been defeated. Now, each creature within 45 feet of the Quell that is a celestial or uses divine magic must succeed on a DC Wisdom save. On a failed save, they cannot cast spells via divine magic until the start of the Quell's next turn. If this saving throw fails by 5 or more, the effect instead lasts until the target finishes a long rest. Now that's interesting. This one I would say is likely going to... That's a tricky one. This is kind of along the lines of the limited magic invulnerability here, or immunities. And how much are we actually going to give this thing if there are spellcasters in here? Now, this is only going to be 1 round of combat, in theory. Likely, we won't see this fail by 5 or more, but there are those random cases where it could. And since we are technically supposed to be looking at best case scenarios, we would think that, okay, at least one target in 45 feet from the creature, which is a huge range, would potentially fail this. Let me think about this for a minute. Well, it's a tricky one to kind of work out here. And I'd say because most characters here are using divine magic as a backup, paladins, rangers, and some clerics, it's not going to impact them all that much, especially rangers and paladins. Druids and clerics, though, could be really heavily impacted by this if they are more of a spellcaster. So like Druid of the Stars, Circle of Stars druids, or, like a holy cleric, divine cleric, or whatever, the life cleric, domain of life, or domain of divine, or whatever the domains are. I'm not too familiar with clerics. I don't usually play them. This one's tricky. I would say probably because we only get this once out of every 3 rounds of combat, and we're only supposed to be checking for 3 rounds of combat, I'll give it another 1 AC. So we'll bump this up to 2 just for the heck of it. And now we'll go into the life drain. So with the life drain here, we have a +5 spell attack bonus, and we're going to throw that there. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and start adding up all the damage. So because this is a third party, we're going to go ahead and calculate this out normally. And the +3 is coming from, it looks like, either intelligence or wisdom. So we're going to add that in from there, giving us 11, which is already off. So our damage here is not lining up with this here. 3d6 plus 3 should be 11.5. So we're getting +2 somewhere by chance. They may have used the wrong item here. Although, let's see here. +5. Yeah, no, that... Okay, maybe their +2 hit is coming from charisma instead then. Maybe that's where I'm probably doing it wrong then. Okay. Yeah, because their +5 to hit is coming from charisma, oddly enough, and then they're getting the +3, so they're not wrong. I just used the wrong item here to calculate that. Although, there's really nothing here that says it's using charisma. In any event, not a big deal. The target's DC is a 13, which is lining up properly there as well. And then they have to succeed on a con save or have its hit point maximum reduced by an amount equal to the damage taken. So our damage is going to be 13.5, and technically, because we are also reducing that damage by the amount we've dealt, we have to multiply this times 2. And with that, we're going to say our 13.5 times 2 for a total of 27 points of damage. And then, let's see here, on a failed save, target cannot cast spell. Oh no, that's that. This reduction lasts until a long rest. Okay. So this is all we're going to be doing, basically, is the multi-attack here, plus the intercession once. And from here, we're going to throw in the 27, and we're going to see that we have a CR4 undead. And that's because of the fact that we are reducing maximum hit points as well. We're doing the damage, and then the character can't recover from that damage as well. So I count this as twice. If we don't count this as twice, let's see what happens here. If we just go to 1, then we have a CR3. But because of life drain, I honestly think because of how much damage this does, and you can't recover from that damage, we should at least count it twice. So, right off the bat, we have ourselves, I'd say, a CR4 Quell here, including all of the, the God Hate and the Life Drain. Now, if by chance we don't have any Divine Casters in the party, let's see what we get from there. Well, it only drops the CR, or the DCR a little bit, to a DCR 3. We have ourselves still an OCR 4. Technically, we have a 3.5, and then I round up because we're not dealing damage, and we can do our math normally here. From that, we can also look into avoiding resistances here as well. So if our characters, our players here, are also ignoring resistances, then our Quell drops down to a CR2. Now, that's with the life drain acting twice. If we are removing the life drain to once, then our Quell drops down to a CR1 without the God Hate. But again, let's take a quick look if we have the God Hate and the Intercession working in its favor. And again, we don't really move from much. We don't really go anywhere from there. So our monster is still a CR1. So if our players are bypassing Acid, Cold, Fire, Lightning, Thunder, and the non-magical attacks, our Quell drops from a CR3 to a CR1. Now, if the Ghost is intended to be a CR3 the entire fight, then get rid of resistances and just make it a CR3, so that way the players have a difficult time. Otherwise, they're going to destroy this undead extremely quickly. This is the biggest issue with damage resistances and immunities. We're expecting it to only... we're expecting these to be avoided in certain situations, but the players may not have it, but we have to calculate for that, and it just drastically reduces the monster. So if anything, we should probably calculate our monsters to be the CR we want them to be, then add on the resistances and immunities and go from there. So that way, I don't know, it's annoying. I really don't like the way damage resistances and immunities work out, especially for low level monsters. When you get to higher level monsters, this doesn't really impact the monsters all that much. So having a Ghost at CR level 1 with all these resistances, and then players being able to bypass it with silver weapons, it's... I can see the need for it. It can be thematic in certain situations, but in most cases it just really hampers the game by making the monsters too easy, especially if you're trying to build something thematically. But in any event, this has been me, your Goblin, Andrew, your Goblin GM here, talking to you about the Quell, which is a custom monster from the conversion for the Elder Evils 5e book on the GM Bindery. Catch the link in the description to get yourselves this book with a bunch of other monsters, and have some fun with it if you dare. Alright, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.